Hey, how you going? So, in this video, I am going to talk about Kawasan Falls. I went there on my first trip by myself and I just kind of walked in and up to the bottom part. But on this one, we're going canyoneering, which is awesome. But before we get into that, just going to ask, sub, if you could, please. Like 98% of people that watch are not subscribed. So if you could, that'd be sweet. Cost you nothing. But if not, that's your choice. Anyway, all right, so on that last video, I talked about we'd gone on this road trip and we'd sort of gone down the east coast and around and across and back up again and back around to Cebu. That was a fun trip. Part of that, we stopped at Kawasan Falls, where we stayed the night at Matutinao Beach Cottages. Now that's where I stayed last time, and it's literally across the road from the exit into the bottom part of Kawasan Falls, which is why I stayed there both times. Look, to be brutally honest, it's fine. It's good, great location, and you can park your car there, which is good because there's not much parking around there. But other than that, it's really just a room, which there's no pool, there's no sort of, there's not even Wi-Fi inside. You've got to go and pay for the peso Wi-Fi to get Wi-Fi. But it was fine. That's what I needed. I needed a place to go and stay and sleep and then get up in the morning and go early up to do the canyoneering. They also do the canyoneering from there, so you can organise it through them, which made it very easy. I will note, there was a party going on, which was pretty far away. Off the top of my head, I think it was like 10 kilometres or 20 kilometres away. You could see, because it's right on the water, you could see around the coast these lights and like flashing lights and that. And I asked, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's a beach party over there. There's a big party there." And I'm like, all the way over there? Like, it was so far and it was so loud. Anyway, there's a little bit of video here. You can see it. I don't know if you can hear that. It's quieter now. But that dot, those lights that I just showed you, that's about 45 minutes drive away. And there's a fiesta on there. And that's like a dance party or something there. And it's so loud here and it's 45 minutes away. And it's like, I don't even know if you can see it. Can you see that? There. It didn't really affect us anyway. That once you close the door, I mean, you could hear it through the door, but they sort of quietened off as the night went off anyway. So we just sort of slept and that was fine. Next morning, got up, got ready pretty early because we wanted to be sort of before the crowds because it does get pretty busy. And we got up there early. The only issue we had was you jump on a motorbike with the guides and they just shoot you up there. It's a pretty decent ride to get up there. I think it was about 15 minutes or 20 minutes from the entrance, like the bottom part where you come in and out on the motorbike to get all the way up there. Which is nice ride, but it was not cold. The Philippines is never cold, but it was chilly, I guess. Like it was spitting rain or very misty up there and kind of chilly going up there, but it was fine. I'm going to be hiking for a little while anyway. Now, I can't remember the exact pricing of it all, but I want to say it was like maybe 2,000 peso each, maybe, to do the canyoneering. I can't remember. Maybe it was less. Maybe it was 1,500. Anyway, maybe it was more. It was around that. Anyway, it wasn't too bad. So we went. Rode all the way up there, got all the way there, and when we left, before we left, they got us to sign, all the waivers and all that sort of stuff, the paperwork. And when you get up the top, you're supposed to hand that into someone up there, and well, the guides do it for you. They hand it into someone and pay them and all that. So before you leave, you basically pay them and you give them the paperwork and everything, and then they go up, they bring it all with them. Anyway, so we get to the top, and they'd forgotten it, which was a little annoying because we went there specifically early to try and make sure that we were going to be ahead of the crowd. And then we got there and had to sit there and wait for, I don't know, half an hour while they rode back down the hill, got the stuff and came all the way back up again. So that was a frustrating start to it, but it is what it is. Anyway, so where you're sitting there waiting at this little sort of, I don't know what you call it, induction area, I guess. They have a little short video for 2 minutes. And you can see off above you, there's these two big zip lines. Now, They give you the option when you get there. They didn't tell us about it before, but I don't care, whatever. But, you know, they probably should have told you about it before. But anyway, you get there, they've told you how much it's going to be for the day, everything's good or whatnot, and you get there and then they go, oh, by the way, now that we're here, to get to the start of the actual canyoneering, it's a 45-minute to an hour-long trek down the mountain and then back up the mountain until you get to the top so you can go back down into where it starts. Or you can pay whatever it was, I can't remember, maybe 1,000 pesos each or something, maybe it was less, I don't really remember. Not the end of the world money, but certainly more than what I expected when you weren't expecting to pay anything, more. You could go on one of these zip lines, and there was sort of two heights ones. One was high, and the other one was slightly more high. And they're massive zip lines, like really long, like I think a few kilometres long. Anyway, obviously, I wanted to do that because one, I didn't really want to hike for an hour to get to the start of the hike. I'm not fit, let's just say, right? I've got an amount of excess weight on me. To be fair, I've been going to the gym for a couple of years, maybe a year and a half, pretty solidly. And I'm lighter than I was. I'm fitter than I was, but I mostly do weights. I don't do a lot of cardio. So I was a bit worried that we're going to go to this canyoneering and be doing cardio the whole time, and I'll be struggling. So I didn't want to add an hour or more cardio into that if I could help it. Also, ziplining is awesome. That looks friggin' great. Lynn was not so pumped. I'm afraid of heights, I'll be brutally honest, but in a situation like that, where there's thousands of people probably per day using it and it's never broken, it's pretty unlikely you're going to have a problem. And that's sort of convinced her to do that, and she was not super pumped, pretty scared, and did real well because she was pretty scared and conquered her fear and jumped on there, and off we went. So we both went on there, and you have the option of sort of lying forwards and like a Superman going down there individually, or you can do one where you're sitting upright and you can both be sort of on the same thing together and zip line down. Now each zip line, there was two heights, so I said we went for the high one because if I'm going to go, they're both bloody high. I want to be on the higher one, obviously, because you're doing it anyway. You may as well do the bigger one. And then each zip line level has two zip lines so that you can go on your zip line and have essentially the guide go on the other zip line. So the two guides were on one and me and Lynn were on the other, and we're sort of going along. And they brought my phone with me, which can be a little bit wet, not dunked into the water preferably, but you know. And so they were filming everything for us on the phone, and I was filming with the GoPro, and yeah, so we kind of have two angles of it, which everyone can do with their guides, obviously, which is pretty cool. It goes for like a minute, like it's so long, and you're going fast, especially like I'm, as I said, not light. Lynn is light, but I'm not light, so we were rocketing past the guides, and it's far out. The views are awesome. It's sick. I couldn't recommend doing that enough. So if you ever are going there, just be aware you're gonna have to pay a little bit extra because when they get to the top, they're gonna tell you that. But the zip lining is awesome. It's definitely worth doing. All right, and then get to the end of the zip line essentially. There's a bit of a hike down the hill. There's all stairs and whatnot. It's quite a lot of stairs, but it's nothing compared to the rest of compared to the rest of the day. I'll be honest, actually, we got down there, and almost straight away, one of the very first things you do, you climb into the sort of the bit and whatnot, and then there was almost straight away there was like I want to say maybe like a 3 or 4 meter off of a little sort of cliff waterfall thing, jumping down into the first part of the river, I guess. I did it. That was cool. I enjoy that sort of stuff. I am a little, as I said, afraid of heights somewhat, so it's a bit stressful, but I still enjoy doing it. Lynn, again, had to overcome fears to do it with a little help from the guide who sort of threw her in the end. And she made it off there and did it, and that was pretty cool. And then later on, again, we jumped off another one later on, which was maybe 5 or 6 meters, I guess. And she managed to do that one with me. We both jumped together, which was pretty cool. You'll see that at some point through these videos. And it's essentially, right, like you're in this huge canyon and the river's going through it down multiple sets of waterfalls and whatnot, and you're traveling along, and there's like you're hiking for some of it, you're climbing through the rocks, you're climbing off of things, you're jumping off of cliffs into the water, you're swimming for parts of it, you're sliding down these like rock slides, and it's really fun. It's really good. It's definitely worth doing. I was probably about, I don't know, an hour and a half into it when I started going, my legs are sore. Like, this is hard work. I wonder how much further we've got to go. Anyway, maybe not an hour and a half. Maybe we're an hour into it when I started to think it a little bit. Anyway, and they asked the guides, or Lynn asked the guides, because they all speak Bisaya. They speak English as well, but they were chatting away in Bisaya. And so she must have been thinking the same thing, because I didn't ask her to ask. She just was sort of talking to them, and I know enough Bisaya to kind of pick up on what they were talking about. And they sort of blah, 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 talking away. And I heard them say something about like a quarterer or quarterish or something like that, right? It wasn't a quarter, but it was something like that. And I said, what? What did you say? We're a quarter of the way through. You mean like we've done this much and we've still got to do the same amount 3 more times? And they're like, yeah, that's about right. And I was thinking, far out. This is going to be like 4 hours of hiking and climbing and doing all this. I'm going to be not able to get through it, but there's no turning back at that point. Like there's no turning back. You're going to hike up the mountain and then back down the mountain, up another mountain to get back to the starting point. You may as well hike the way out. Like it's all downhill, mostly downhill anyway. But yeah, just be prepared if you're going. It's not, I thought it was only going to be like 2 hours or an hour and a half or something. It's not. It's like a 4-hour thing. It's pretty long. So if you're wildly unfit, probably not for you. But most people should be fine. There is quite a lot of climbing over rocks and things like that. So if you've got bad knees and ankles, mine are not amazing, but I managed. You can get through it, but just be aware. Anyway, so it's beautiful though. Like these canyons, and it's friggin' like this huge, like lush growth all around you, and the water in most of the places is this sort of weird milky blue color, which is absolutely stunning. It's really lovely. And then at some points you get in, there's like a big rock slide that you're sliding down, you sit on it and they throw a bit of water in it, and it's like it's probably maybe, it doesn't look that big in the video, but it might be 8 or 10 meters long that you slide down before you go in. There's 4 or 5 places where you're jumping off cliffs and things like that into the water, with the final one being probably, I think they said it was 10 meters. Lynn didn't jump off the last 2, but yeah, the last one was maybe 10 meters high. I did jump off of it, I admit. I was pretty scared. It's pretty high. And then I sort of jumped off, not very gracefully, smashed into the water and, whatever it is. The guide then did a perfect backflip straight off and into the water, which you can see on there as well. He had no fear. And then there was another couple for people coming through behind us, and the poor girl, she wanted to jump off, but she's like, runs to the edge and can't quite do it, and runs to the edge and can't quite do it. And I'm filming her going, man, I wonder if she's going to make it or not. But eventually she did it, and good for her. She managed to do it. It was awesome. The other one I jumped off was, I think 7 or 8 meters, maybe 8 meters high, but it's into like a gorge, and it's like the landing area is only maybe 2 or 3 meters. Like it looks bigger when you look down in the video that you'll see, but the rock kind of comes in under the water as well. So they're like, you've got to land right in that middle bit. Like it's only about 2 meters, maybe like 2 by 2 meters type thing. You got to land right onto that, which is a little stressful because you had to jump out pretty far to get to that point. But that was fine. It was good. It was pretty fun. Oh, there's this amazing bit where you kind of climb down through these, I don't know, like it's the river, and the rocks are kind of, it's not a cave, but it's like, well, it's not completely sealed. I feel like it's rocks that have fallen down to make like a roof, but it's almost like a cave, and you go into it. The water's very deep. You can't touch the bottom in there. And you're floating through, and you're sort of floating through, and it's like this amazing blue, and it's all sort of reflecting in there, and the camera does not do it justice, but you'll see that in there as well. It looks amazing, and then you come out of that, and there's like, I can't remember what they call it. I think I called it banana rock or something. There's like these stalactites hanging down. It's all sort of hanging out over the water, and it's only about 1 meter or 2 above the water, and you're floating through it, and there's like these stalactites all hanging down in there, which was really sick. Looked awesome. And yeah, just lots of swimming, lots of jumping, it's fun. It's really good fun. definitely worth doing. Like the last time I went was, I just walked in and I got to that bottom bit, and there, to be honest, it was one of the best things I've ever done. I got there at like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning before anyone was there. I was the only person there for about an hour and just got to swim in the bottom all by myself the whole time. And it was excellent. And I wanted to do that again, but they convinced us that we should go early, so we got to do the canyoneering the same way, where there wasn't really anyone else there, which mostly was right. But yeah, like there's multiple spots where there's big waterfalls as well, which obviously you're not jumping off of them because they're big. They're like 20 or 30 or 40 meters high. Like you wouldn't want to jump off them. But you can swim around underneath them and get nice photos with them and stuff like that. And the guides are excellent. The guides, obviously they've done this a million times, and they do probably the exact same thing at the exact same spots for every person. But they'll take your camera and they'll do these like, oh, I'm doing this, and zipping it up into the air and all that sort of stuff. And they just know, oh, take a photo here, and if you're with your partner or a girlfriend, they'll be like, oh, kiss each other here, or do this, or sit this spot and we'll take a nice photo for you here. And the guys are really good. Speak English really well. They're really good. There's a halfway point where you can stop, and there's like some places to buy some food to eat. You want some rice or some other hot food or whatever you can. We bought some eggs and other bits and pieces to eat there, and we bought the guides something to eat as well. You don't have to. Man, I don't think they get paid all that much, and it's 4 hours. They only do one a day. Even if, if they're lucky, they get to do one a day, but they wouldn't do 2 a day, is what I'm saying. So it's 4 or 5 hours work for them. Buy them lunch. It's nice. You don't have to, but we did. It costs you so little anyway. And you don't have to bring the money with you. They've got some agreement with them so that when you get to the end, they just know that they'll get paid. And when you get to the end, you just pay for it, whatever it was that you got done. And then the last little bit, you sort of just there's a path and stairs, and it's very made up. It's not like you're climbing over rocks for the last bit as you come down basically into that main Kawasan Fall area where there's a lot of people and everyone's just swimming and all that by that stage of the day anyway, because we got there at probably 1 o'clock or 12, probably 12:30 or 1 o'clock or something like that by that stage. And yeah, it was awesome. I would definitely recommend it, and genuinely I'd go back and do it again. Like, it was so good. The only thing I would say is we were there in May, and May's the rainy season, but it's kind of early on. They said to us that the water levels, because you can see in places, you're in these canyons, and you could see that the water level, like you're walking on gravel, like there was no water. I mean, there's a stream off to the side, or the water must disappear at some points and come back up at other points. But we were walking through, but you could see that in that canyon, there was water levels that were well above my head, like maybe 10 or 15 meters up. And I mentioned that to them, and they're like, oh yeah, if you come at the end of the rain season, this is all water, you swim. So instead of, like, let's say it was 4 hours and 2 hours is hiking and 2 hours is like swimming and jumping and climbing and all that sort of stuff. I think if you go at the other end of the season when it's all full of water, maybe it's only like there's very little climbing and most of it is like floating along, swimming along, jumping off, because there was a few spots where they say, oh, when the water's high, you can jump off here as well. One of them was like 15 meters, and I was like, oh, that would have been awesome. So like, definitely I wouldn't mind going back again at the end of a rainy season where it's going to be really much higher water levels there. Don't get me wrong, it was awesome still. It was really great, loved it. But that would be cool too. It would be a completely different experience again, because I think with the water levels being higher, there was things that we could do with the water level low that you probably couldn't do when the water level's high. Like the tunnel bit that we went through, I doubt that you could do that when the water's high. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going back and doing it again someday. Probably will. Anyway, that's it. It was awesome. Definitely recommend. If you're ever going to Cebu and you're going, oh, what should I do? There's all these things to do, and there's a lot to do, whale sharks or mobile oil and swim with the sardines or go to beaches here or over, like all the different things you can do. One of the things that's going to come up is Kawasan Falls and canyoneering. Before any other choices, they're the two I'd be going to. That one, it's one thing because it's the same. That's what I'd be doing because it was great. Anyway, if you couldn't subscribe, yeah, like, even better. Comment if you've been. Comment if you haven't been. Just tell me what you think. Anyway, thank you very much. Have an awesome week. I will see you in another week. Bye.